So you're looking for a healthy homemade treat? You should try apple chips. Dad's going to show you how to make it. What Dad can do. Now, in order to make apple chips, you're going to need a few critical ingredients, like apples. Several firm apples are what I start with, and you'll need some honey. Now, in this case, the filtered honey is best. Comes out with a little better flavors, usually just a sweetener. And you'll need cinnamon. We're going to sprinkle cinnamon on it. If you don't like cinnamon, you can always skip that. The tools we're going to need is we need a slicer. I like to use a slicer. You can cut them by hand or whatever other method you feel fancy. You'll need peelers. As you folks know, I am fond of the double-sided peelers. Makes it a whole lot faster. And this is a modern addition to my fruit manipulation. This is a corer. I can take the core out of the apple, and it springs here to release it. Now, this whole setup, all of this recipe I got from my oldest brother, Anthony. So came to visit one day and had apple chips, let me try them, and I've been stuck ever since. So the last thing you'll need is you'll need a dehydrator. Now, I'll show you this dehydrator in detail as we go through. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and peel and decore the apples. Okay, I'm going to peel these apples quick, fast, and in a hurry. I run them around this way, and then it allows me to just twist them and take that peel right off. I got several to do, so I'll let you see one or two, and then we'll speed it up. Now, I got a double XL glove, so gripping these apples is easy for me, but if you folks have smaller hands, it may take you a little more time. Some folks also like to leave the peel on the apple, but it's up to you. I don't like the peel on it, and my wife like it without the peel. All right, so I'm going to show you how I do these three with the decoring little tool. Now, apples and several other fruits are pretty funny. Where this top piece goes in and the bottom piece comes out, or down here where the back of the flower was when it was fertilized or pollinated, is usually a straight line. So if you can figure where that is and where this is, you can push straight, and it should take the entire core out with little fuss or fury. See how that came kind of through the center? All right. And that's going to remove majority of all the seeds and everything there. Won't need that. I'll show you one more. Sitting solid and flat. Should be able to shoot straight through it. I love this little tool. It's wonderful. Used to be they had the core and you had to kind of fight to get it out. Well, this one pops right open and you can pull it out. Saves you a little frustration. Taking all the core out of it and majority of the seeds and everything. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, and I'll be right back. All right. All of our apples are peeled and decored. Looking pretty good. I think we're about ready. Now, in order to get these ready for the dehydrator, we've got to slice them. Now, I, again, have a slicer. You don't have to have one, but this does make the job a whole lot easier. The way this one works is I pull this little center portion out. It has these little spikes on it, and that's what's going to hold the apple, potato, whatever you're going to be cutting. In this case, it's going to be an apple for us. I'm just going to stick that right about center. And it makes a difference if you keep it kind of squared in there. Let me take a time or two, but I get it to where it sits kind of square. And then all I've got to do is slide it. Now, this one has the little blade that comes up and cuts as this portion is pressed. So it's safe to use and won't cut you. So we'll make these slices. Yep. Let me make sure we're on the track. Okay, there we go. Back on track, literally. So I'm making these a little thicker cut because when they're too thin, they're difficult to get off of the rack of the dehydrator. All right, once you see the thickness, you can't exactly see clearly through them. You can see a little light and everything, but that's about where we want it. About as thick as 2 fingernails. All right, so that's the way we want it. I'll show you one more here. Got a nice little stack. Going to move those to the side. Grab us another apple and see if she cuts better this time for us. You can actually slide it in here. Put the spikes through. I'm going to support it, and there we go. And there we go. Apple number 2, and that's how you do it. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these, and we'll be right back and show you what to do after we get them all sliced. So now that we've got them all sliced up and they're all stacked together here, we want to select the largest chips or slices of apple first, right? The other ones can go in the open slots on the tray, which I'm going to show you now. This is our dehydration tray. This is oval shaped in ours. Our Instapot said it can do it also. I haven't tried that yet, but this is our mainstay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and select the best of the best and lay them out on the tray. So you just place them where you can get the most bang for your buck throughout the tray. Now, it doesn't matter whether you cover the center or not. They just need airflow. Now, you'll note just being cut and sitting for a few, they were already starting to get that little browning. The lemon's going to help with that. I'm going to show you folks what I do with that. Now, the smaller pieces that aren't as large, I take those and kind of fill in the spots, like some of the ones that end up being a half moon or something like that. You can stick them right on in there and fill that space. Now, you can overlap them. It's just when you make them into chips, they may not be a full round chip. And doesn't really matter. The flavor's going to be there regardless. But I kind of like them to be a large chip. All right, so I do that. And then I'm going to spritz them with the lemon. I've got mine in a mister here. And I go ahead and spray the apples with that. And you want to get them really good. Now, you can do both sides. Some people even dip them in the apple. They dip the apple in the lemon juice before they put them on there, so that way it's on both sides. I find that one side's just fine. All right, I'm going to continue on with that until all of the trays are loaded. Here we go again, same thing with this one. Loading the trays with all of our large cuts. I'm going to overlap them just a little bit. It's been a while since I made some of these. It's getting harder and harder to find good fruit nowadays for some reason. And there we go. I'm going to spritz these as well. And again, you wet them down pretty good. Oh, got a double here. Wet them down pretty good. And I noticed there's a difference in the flavor when I don't spritz them with the lemon. I tried it before without it. It does make a difference in the flavor. All right, so I'm going to continue on, load the rest of the trays, and we'll come back and show you how to do the honey. Okay, I've got the trays all loaded. They're all spritzed down with the lemon juice. And now we're ready to make them a little sweet. Now, that filtered honey that we talked about, it'll spread okay, but I find it a whole lot easier if I go ahead and heat it just a tad bit in the microwave and make it flow a little easier. So it's quite a bit of apples, so I'm going to run quite a bit of honey. Now, when it's smooth and a little more warm, it'll flow really, really nice. And as we complete the honey, we're going to powder it with the cinnamon and stick it right on the dehydrator. All right, so I'm going to put this in the microwave for, let's say, 10, 12 seconds, just enough to loosen it up. And while that's heating, go ahead and move these apples out of the way. Now, they won't go to waste. I'll either eat them, or as I go through this, I'll add apples to the tray, because as they warm, they will reduce in size. Okay, that's loose, but let me put it in for another 10 seconds while I move the dehydrator. Now the dehydrator is going to run off a lot of warm air, and I do mine roughly about 12 to 14 hours. I really like the crunch. My wife and I both like the crunch. So we're going to dehydrate them well. Now, if you like yours a little more flexible, more so than a chip, then by all means you can dehydrate it less. But this is how I do it. Now, honey seems like it's flowing pretty well now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to brush it on. Now, folks, you don't need a ton, and you don't have to be too particular, but you want to make sure you get it somewhere everywhere. And I wouldn't spill it just freely. Try to get it more on the apples because it tends to make it stick to the tray. But about halfway through, maybe before bed tonight, I'll come through and loosen them up just to make sure that they're free, or first thing in the morning before heading off to work. All right, that's one tray. And then the cinnamon. Now I take the sifted shaker part and I shake it from up high, folks, so it doesn't end up coating just a single area. And I'm very, very sparing on the cinnamon. Just enough to get a little color. Now, if it does come out quite a bit in one area and not in the other, that's okay. All right. And there you go. That's about good enough. You can make it a little heavier if you want. And what I do is I go ahead and turn it on. And each tray that I put on here goes right on the top. All right. On to the next. Now, I like to do this one tray over the other because the spills, the cinnamon, all of that stuff will fall through to the other tray and it's not wasted. If you folks been watching my channel, you know I'm not a fan of waste at all. So just makes sense to let it fall through. cuts back on some of the work you got to do too. All right. Nice, high, and scattered well. All right. We've reached the halfway point there. Now, we like to eat healthy. We like to be healthy. We like to be active. And nowadays, we know that the health of the average American isn't that great. Um, People don't like to do things like what you're seeing here because they think it's too much work. But it keeps you healthy to stay active and eat well and get a little exercise or movement at the very least. Burns calories and keeps your brain active and all sorts of things like that as you age. So doing stuff like this is healthy in more ways than one. All right. Looking good, looking good. Now, if you folks could smell this, oh my goodness, it doesn't take very long for those aromas to start filling the kitchen. Smells great already, and this is going to fill the house as it goes through its drying process, and you'll smell it everywhere. It's just like potpourri, where the cinnamon, the apple cinnamon fragrance is just all over the house. It's just wonderful. I was just mentioning to my wife how the meals that we cook fill the house, and that smell is just wonderful. I take it a lot of people just don't know how to cook nowadays, so they always go get fast food, which is unhealthy, extremely expensive. When you can buy things in bulk and make your meal at home and save the money, learn how to do something and ensure your ability to survive when things get bad. So I applaud you for watching this to the end. All right, so we've got it all set. And the dehydrator is running. And this is going to run, I'm going to let it run on high until bedtime. After that, I'll set it to medium or low to run through the night. And 12 to 14 hours, and you've got some fresh, healthy, delicious apple chips. We'll check back in later. Okay, folks, it's the next morning, roughly about 11 hours later. I'm going to rotate them out, periodically through the night as I was getting ready for bed. I was rotating out each of these trays, and I do that by lifting all of them off except for the bottom, taking the top, putting it over the one that was on the bottom, because it's now going to the top. Set them all in, and then I set it back. Now, I'm about to leave for work, so I'm going to turn it down to low and let it go. Now, this whole apple crisp chip process is kind of a set and forget. I just let it run. Again, we like ours very crisp. If you want a little more flexibility in yours, that's great. But the longer it goes, I find that it condenses the sugar, makes it taste even better. It allows me to get rid of the excess cinnamon whenever we break them up and put them inside of our bag to eat. So that's going to be good to go until I get home today, and then we'll take them off and let them cool, and we can enjoy. We'll be back. So, folks, here we are, roughly about 24 hours later. What I've done is periodically I've gone through and I've taken them off of one tray and combined them on the next, taking them kind of one tray at a time off since I've gotten home today. And we're down to this single tray here. It's run most of the night on low, and since I've been home, I've had it running on fan only. And you'll see here, they're pretty crisp, and they'll be even more crisp the cooler they get. The flavor is wonderful. You can taste that the sugars are condensed, and it just tastes wonderful. I make sure I use Granny Smith apples. I've tried the other ones, but just like with any other cooking, it's always best to use Granny Smith. The other ones dissipate or they lose their flavor. Most apple pies have Granny Smith apples or a mixture of Granny Smith and others, but the properties of those Granny Smith apples just hold up so much better. So once I separated them all off and kind of put them in here, now I'm going to shut this completely off. And from here, I'm let them cool a little bit more. But this is our end product. We've got chips here that are crisp and they crack just like a regular potato chip, but more of a sweet treat than anything. But that's the full run of it. Sometimes they'll stick to the tray, and once it's cool, you can just kind of pat it and they'll drop off. Or you may have to peel them a little bit if you've got a decent amount of honey on it. But just work it easy and pull it slightly, and it'll start to come up. It may take a little patience to get it up, but the result is well worth it. And that is how we make our apple chips. Again, start from finish. I let them run about 24 hours and make sure they're crisp enough. That's how we like them. Especially once you put it in a bag and it starts to build moisture or something along those lines, to get a little more soggy. But this is how we like them. And that's how Dad does it.